Commissioner Morris, it just lean forward a little, speak.
Wider meeting.
That's right. Can everyone hear me online? Can I get a thumbs up? No. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right, Brandon, you ready, sir?
Okay. Good morning. Today is February 6, 2025. This is the duly called meeting of the Texas Low-Level Radioactive Waste Disposal Compact Commission. We are here today at our conference room at our office at 1502 West Avenue in Austin, Texas. And several of our commissioners and other participants are joining us via Zoom. I would like to remind everybody that because we are using the Zoom platform, public participants will need to use the raise your hand function, which is in the bottom of the Zoom application. When you do that, we will know that you want to speak as soon as possible. Obviously, there will be some discussion here in person. If for any reason we have technical problems, for those of you that are on the screen, if you would just raise your hand, like literally physically, so we can know that we have a problem, because we've already had some this morning. So we want to make sure that we don't lose anybody's connectivity. With that, we'll call the meeting to order, and we will announce that today is a very special day because we have a new commissioner joining us. Ryan Anwar is a resident of Midland and an engineer, so he is a perfect fit for our operations. We want to welcome him. We're very excited about getting to work with him. Our next meeting will be in next door to Ryan in Odessa, so we're excited about getting to meet him in person there, but we wanted to welcome and say thank you for willing to join us. You may regret that decision soon, but hopefully not. We want to say a special thank you as well to our departing commissioner, Lisa Edwards, who is not with us today, but we hope to get to see Lisa soon. Lisa did a very, very admirable job as a commissioner, and we will miss her. But we know that she's got retirement to look forward to, so she won't miss us as much as we'll miss her. With that, I will make sure we have a quorum. I see Commissioner Morris, myself, Vice Chairman Salzman, and online I see Commissioner Nyack, Commissioner Mundy, and our new Commissioner Anwar, and then I just saw Commissioner Sadek join us. So with that, we do have a quorum, and we can proceed with our business. We're very lucky today to have with us Commissioner Bobby Janetta from TC. We're also very lucky today to have our Attorney General, Attorney Stephen Ogle, with us. We appreciate his participation, and we hope we don't have to call on you today, but if we do, we appreciate you being here.
Dolgener is here if you want to call out Dolgener.
Constable Dolgener is here. He is one of the OGs of our commission, so we appreciate him being here. Any other press or elected officials or staff of elected officials that are here today?
No, couldn't be the Ryan Strom too. Strom's online.
Well, I was going to tell Ryan, we're very excited to have you here, and everyone here is wonderful to deal with the exception of Dan Strom, and you'll learn that very quickly. So, we give Dan Strom grief at least once a meeting, so we fulfill that requirement as well. With that, we are on to item 4, which is public comment. Again, if anyone online wants to speak, we would ask if you use the raise your hand function so we can do it orderly. So with that, we will open the floor and see if there's any public comments. As a reminder, you will be allowed to speak on individual items as we go through, but this is general public comment if anyone would like to make it.
And it should be good to go.
Okay. Last call for public comment. Seeing none, and for the record, Commissioner Bradford just joined us, so we have complete attendance today. So thank you everyone for showing up. With that, we can move on to item 5, which is our report from Dave Carlson, a waste disposal specialist, and I will turn it over to Dave.
Great, thanks for that. Where's the nearest microphone? So I'll talk in that direction. Great, thanks so much. I'm Dave Carlson, President of Waste Control Specialist. So just to go through some statistics for the latest period, if I look at Texas fiscal year to date, and a reminder that's Texas fiscal year, so we start in September and run through August. In compact disposals are 11,353 cubic feet, and 381 curies. Out of compacts is 13,185 cubic feet and 53,789 curies. So that makes our total since inception through January 31st at 395,000 cubic feet disposed. That's about 4.4% of the licensed capacity of the facility, and about 656,000 curies. We're interested in construction capacity, and I'm glad to report that we have higher constructed capacity than we've had since inception of the site. We have phase one still operating, constructed capacity 450,000 cubic feet, with 76,000 of that remaining, so about 17% of our first phase still remains. Our second phase, phase 2A, has a design capacity of 425,000 cubic feet of waste, and the remaining from that is about 403,000 cubic feet. And of course, if everybody remembers, that went into service last February. So we have available capacity today of almost 480,000 cubic feet, which should last us a very long time.
Mr. Carlson,
On how long that is?
The best I can do is
Just
5
based
years.
on historic.
Is based on historic, and historically it would be 10 years or better. If you look at peak years or something, it could be as low as 5 years, but it depends on what people do with STPs and steam generators and things like that.
I'm sorry.
Dave, is the second cell now fully completed and approved by TCEQ?
Yes, it was approved by TCEQ for use back in January or February of 2024, and we couldn't actually place waste until we had the final approval, which means they go through all the engineering drawings and all of our QA documents and so on to validate that everything is correct. And at that point, we were allowed to dispose of that cell.
Yes, I'm saying so, but it's 100% finished out right now.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
That's it. Thank you.
Sorry, didn't mean to derail you.
No worries. So just looking at the payments, I'll talk about quarterly payments. So the latest quarterly payment, we paid $5.3 million in surcharges to TCEQ and just over $1 million to Andrews County. That was for the period from September through the end of November. So for one quarter, that's what the payments were. Our total payments since inception have crossed over the $110 million mark, with about 90 million going through TCEQ. Some of that goes to general fund, some of that goes to a specific fund at TCEQ, and some of that goes to the compact commission ultimately. And almost $20 million to Andrews County at this point, and that's over the 12 years of operation to date.
Is that last quarter a record? Is that the most ever?
I haven't looked to see if it's a record, but it's certainly large compared to many. It's not a trend that's going to be that high always, right? It was just a high quarter. And that is everything I have to report today. Are there any questions?
I ask this every time, but the license is with the TC at this point, so y'all are done, and it's just waiting on TCQ to do their due diligence.
Right. So the way it goes is we submit that application for renewal. TCEQ first goes through to make sure that it's administratively complete, and the administrative completeness step has been made. Now they're going through a technical review process. What will come next, and I think it's coming fairly shortly, is technical, they call it TNOTs, technical notice of deficiencies, but what it really means is questions coming from TCEQ where they say, we'd like more information on this area, or we would like you to do additional analysis in this particular area. So they'll send those to us and we'll respond to those TNOTs. Hopefully everything is cleared up in the first round, but they can certainly send a second round if there's more questions, and then we would respond to those. And once they've had all their questions asked, then they can advance it to the public participation aspects of that. Once they have a complete package in front of them that they can put out to the public. But again, this is the purpose of the renewal is to go through. It doesn't change anything on our license. It's to incorporate everything to date into a homogeneous license without any change from current rules.
Any other questions for Mr. Carlson? Okay, thank you, Dave. With that, we can move on to our committee reports, which are the next several items. and I actually can answer a couple of them. On the Rules Committee, we are still in the process of working through and finalizing agreements with hopefully both NSSI and Waste Control Specialists about what will be in lieu of their compliance with the management rule. It'll be a contractual matter, but we hopefully will still pass a rule to back it up for any other people that don't have an agreement with us. So that's been in process for a long time, and I fully admit that that's my fault that we have not gotten all that done yet, but we will in the very near future. Item number 7, we've actually combined the capacity and the contingent committee, and I will tell you why. As you all remember, the contingency committee chaired by Commissioner Mundy did a very good job of going through the process and fulfilling our statutory duty to have a contingency plan. So now what I've asked the contingency committee, and really it's an overlap with the capacity committee, to do is to look at if we need contingency plans related to capacity matters. So they kind of are obviously kind of dovetail them into one another. We have started that process. We are looking at it internally. I'm sure we'll be reaching out to, I was going to say most of you, but probably all of you at some point to get input and possibly some data for this. The ultimate goal being that we make sure that we ask for a reservation of capacity for the needs of our in-compact generators as soon as possible based on projections, so WCS can understand our position and obviously respond to it if they want to. But I don't want to wait until cells start to get full before we start doing that. I just going to try to get out ahead of it as much as possible so they can do their planning, and obviously we can feel like we have the reserve capacity needed for our in-compact generators. Obviously, this raises the issue of what the future of our in-compact nuclear generation may be, which is a hot topic with SMRs and the Nuclear Alliance that is doing such a good job and published Commissioner Blackfelty's report from the PUC, which we're going to watch carefully. Obviously, we want to be a resource on that and help in any way we can. And I know waste is not a topic that's being discussed right now, but when they get to us, we want to be ready and able to help them in any way possible to provide them all the support they need. And to the extent that has a capacity impact, it may not be in our lifetime, but even if it's not, we want to make sure that we are doing our job to reserve capacity for that if it's needed. So that is the future, I think, of maybe a joint effort by the capacity committee and the contingency planning committee, with the addition of Commissioner Anwar and with the exit of Commissioner of Lisa. We might be shuffling the committee just because it's an opportunity to do so, and maybe even kind of refocusing them. So we will be reaching out to all the commissioners in the near future and making sure what your interest level is and what committees you want to be on, and then we will try to maybe reconstitute them. They may look very similar, but they may change too. So be thinking about that, commissioners. With that, we're through items both 6 and 7 on the agenda, and we can move on to item 8, which is consideration of possible action on import applications. And we can go ahead and knock item 8A, the import application of Ethan Research off, because we've been told that they would like to withdraw it. So we don't have to handle item 8A, but we will move on to item 8B, which is the import application of Ambler, Missouri. And we will turn it over to Vice Chairman for the Technical Committee report.
Get there in
Oh. Dick, can you still hear us?
No,
Is the
John seems to be on mute. On my machine, he's.
They can't hear us?
Maybe I can unmute him. Can I? I think so.
I don't think so.
John's voice is very,
Turn on yours and turn mine off.
yeah, John's voice is very muted, very hard to hear.
There you go.
Mute you.
You choose and we'll turn mine on. Your speakers. All
All
right,
right, we'll do a sound check. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Excellent. Well, good morning. So the technical committee has received and reviewed an import application from Ameren, Missouri. It was received December 11, 2024. It's number 1-04567-00. In this case, Ameren is a generator requesting authorization to dispose of waste in accordance with the Act. And they have specifically requested authorization for Class A, Class B, and Class C unstable resins, filters, and DAW. Those waste streams were approved for disposal at the site via letter correspondence from TCEQ dated January 23, 2025. They've requested authorization for 1,250 cubic feet and a total radioactivity of 300 curies. I would note that the commission received no comments on this application.
we actually did in the last couple of days, but not
Oh.
before I sent the packet.
Right.
WCS sent comment on Monday.
Okay, at the time of the technical committee review, we had not received any comments. This waste would originate from the state of Missouri, which is part of the Midwest Compact and does not require export authorization. And finally, the applicant has requested an agreement for the fiscal year. So the proposed agreement would be through August 31, 2025. Technical committee recommends approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the technical committee on item 8B, the import application of Ameren, Missouri?
See none online.
Hearing none, we can move on to a motion.
I make a motion to approve the import application from Ameren, Missouri, number 1-0467-00. The waste class is Class A, Class B, and Class C. The waste form is unstable. The waste stream is resins, filters, and DAW. The volume will be 1,250 cubic feet. The total radioactivity is 300 curies. And the agreement would have a termination date of August 31, 2025.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion about item 8B, the import application of Ameren, Missouri?
I should have asked, what was WCS's comment? Are they opposed or not opposed to this?
They were in favor of all of the applications and amendments from us. They just didn't. I didn't get it till after I sent the board packet to you and before John had written the technical review.
Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, we can move on to a vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the import application of Ameren, Missouri, represented in item 8B on our agenda, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 All opposed, no. Motion passes.
Everybody turned on their mics too. That was impressive.
We're learning slowly. We can now move on to item 8C, which is the import application of Veolia Aileron. And we will turn this over. Oh, I'm sorry. Then I'll announce that. Veolia Aileron submitted an application for a new import agreement, but once we received it, Stephen determined that it's really more appropriate as an amendment. So do you want to take it up now, or do you want to move it to the amendment?
Say, let's just take it up.
So commissioners, to be clear, this is in the agenda item for new import agreements, but this will actually be an amendment. But I think the analysis will be the same.
Yes, so I'll actually need a little bit of help from the administration on this one. Let me hold on a minute. I can tell you that the actual agreement that we, which will end up being a request for an amendment from Veolia ES Aileron, was received on December 24, 2024. And the amendment would be 1-0468-01. And in this case, Aileron is requesting to add
Dewatered bead resin to their waste stream. They did not include that earlier.
So in their original application, they did not include dewatered bead resin. So we are adding that. So we're adding one item to the waste stream. I can tell you that We received approval from TCEQ, letter correspondence dated January 23, 2025, which approved these materials included dewatered resin for disposal at the site. And since this is an amendment, that's the only change to the original agreement. The technical committee recommends approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the technical committee on the amendment application of Veolia Aileron? And again, if you have any questions about why that is, we're treating it as an amendment, please feel free to ask them.
We might actually explain, just so for Commissioner Anwar's benefit, why we have to do that for a waste stream change.
Good point. So just as a reminder, and I'm sure everyone will groan because every time I say that, I'm repeating myself. But our process is we have yearly agreements that run through our fiscal year, which is September 1st through August 31st, which mirrors the state's fiscal year and what we refer to as the disposal year. So we ask people to get a new agreement annually, but once they get an agreement, if they want to change something in their application, and that can be anything from volumes to curie count to types of waste or streams of waste like this one, we ask them to ask for an amendment, which we consider a meeting. There is a process that after a couple of years of operation, we realized we needed, which was a minor amendment process. And in particular, what we found was that there would be things such as states of origin or other very non-substantive matters that we decided we could pass by a minor amendment, which means it can be approved by the chair and the executive director and not require a full vote of the commission. Those are very limited. We've had some people ask for minor amendments that we've decided weren't appropriate for the minor amendment process, and we've asked them to come back and do a traditional amendment. But anything, kind of our bright line standard is anything that changes the volume, the curies, or the type of waste coming, including the classification of waste, we ask them to get a formal amendment. In this case, Veolia was only adding bead watered resin, so it came in as a new agreement request, but once we reviewed that, Stephen said, no, this should probably only be an amendment, and that's the reason we're treating it as an amendment. So with that, I think we're ready for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the amendment request from Veolia. It's number, hold on a minute, I want to get this correct, 1-0468-01, and the amendment is to add dewatered bead resin to the waste stream. The technical committee, or never mind. And that's my motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion about the amendment request of Veolia Aileron that is in item 8C? Hearing none, we can move on to a vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the amendment request of Veolia Aileron represented in item 8C based on the explanation of why we are converting it from a request for a new agreement to an amendment, please indicate so by saying aye.
Wait just a second, Mr. Chairman. One of the commissioners isn't in camera.
Is that better?
No, still
John,
missing.
will you lean forward?
Oh, John, lean forward so we can see.
No.
I think the video is only showing Mr. Raines because the mic is coming in before his face
Oh.
on the camera.
Oh,
Okay.
gotcha.
For all the viewers,
Is that fixing it?
No.
probably only for this laptop.
Here, unmute it again for a second.
Turn on the volume on that one.
Yeah, just turn on your, turn.
Volume's gone here now.
If you'll mute yours and then everyone speaks up, this will pick up.
Yeah.
Okay, turn the camera on.
Yep,
All right, everybody, lean vote.
there we go.
Mr. Ogle, is that better?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, please indicate so by saying aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes. We can now move on to item 8D, which is the import application of Entergy. Riverbend stations. And I will turn it back over to the vice chair.
Can everyone hear me okay before I start? I just want to make sure.
Yes.
The technical committee has received and reviewed an import application from Entergy Operations Riverbend Station, which received January 2nd, 2025. It's number 1-0469-00. In this case, Riverbend is a generator requesting authorization to dispose of waste in accordance with the act. They have requested authorization for Class B and Class C unstable irradiated hardware consisting of fuel channels, control rod blades, LPRMs, and those waste streams were approved for disposal at the site via letter correspondence from TCEQ dated January 23, 2025. Riverbend has requested authorization for 420 cubic feet and a total radioactivity of 85,000 curies. I believe the commission, after the technical committee reviewed this, the commission did receive a note from WCS recommending approval of this import application. The waste would originate from the state of Louisiana, which is part of the Central Compact. It does not require export authorization. Riverbend has requested an agreement for this fiscal year, so the agreement would have a termination date of August 31, 2025. And I would also note that if approved, this application request will need to be treated as contingent since it involves irradiated hardware that is in less than 15,000 curies. The technical committee recommends approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a quick explanation for Commissioner Anwar's benefit. One of the things we also discovered through our operations was that we were receiving applications for large curie disposal related to irradiated hardware. And part of the process is it's a bit of a guess process because irradiated hardware is hard to measure at the time of the application. And it was causing us to bump up against a statutory cap of 275,000 curies. So we developed a contingent curie program that will be under that any request for a curie allocation of over 15,000 is made contingent. And the reason we do that is because, as it turns out, the actual amount of curies that get disposed are far less usually than what are requested. And it allowed us to, on paper, grant approvals on a conditional basis for more than 275,000, but we've never disposed of more than 275,000. So that was simply to avoid the problem of us coming into a paper problem where we had to shut off imports when in fact we were never going to get close to the actual cap. So that is the reason we use this contingent curie process, and this is an example of it. And it usually comes with irradiated hardware, which tends to be high curie count. And so we've asked people that when they make an irradiated hardware application, they separate that out from their normal waste. And so we sometimes see even people have two applications on our agenda, one for irradiated hardware and one for normal waste, may not be the right term, but non-irradiated hardware waste. So this is one of those. So with that, I will open the floor to any questions to the vice chairman about this application.
Be okay if I say a few things about this?
Sure.
Yeah, we're in support of this, but we don't often talk about specifically what it is we're talking about. We say words like stable and unstable and don't necessarily define that in the meeting, and they have very clear definitions. So, for example, stable or unstable, you go to 10 CFR 61.7 is probably the best place to get a definition. And stability is required for Class B and C waste when it gets disposed. What stability means, though, is it means something's able to maintain its gross physical properties and identity for 300 years. So that's stability. So if it comes into the site as unstable, it has to be stable when we dispose of it. We do that with our modular concrete containers. Now, everything that goes into the compact waste facility is actually stable when it's disposed, including Class A waste, just because that's the design of that facility. The other thing I know we don't talk about that much, and it comes up at every meeting, is irradiated hardware. And irradiated hardware, about 90% of the time, comes from boiling water reactors, just because of the design of those reactors. And this one mentioned fuel channels, and fuel channels are not fuel, and they don't contain fuel. They're made of zirconium and they direct the flow of coolant around the fuel assemblies, and they provide some structural support to the fuel assemblies in the core. So because they bend over time due to irradiation and so on, they have to be replaced occasionally. And so this is replacement of those fuel channels. Control rod blades are something else. They control the reactivity in the reactor. Typically, they're in a cruciform shape, meaning they're a cross that goes down into the reactor, and typically made of stainless steel with boron carbide. Boron carbide is actually a absorber of neutrons. Sometimes they also have hafnium, which is also another absorber of neutrons. So that's what those are. Again, they're unusual levels and so on, and they do wear out over time from the neutron flux that they're in. Finally, we say LPRMs. What are LPRMs? For somebody who doesn't work in a nuclear power plant, that's a low power range monitoring system detector. So it's actually an in-core detector that comes out of the reactor because it fails after some point in time, and they have to put a new one in. And so that becomes irradiated. It's no good anymore. They take it out and they replace it.
So the encasement into concrete, how does that, from a non-technical person's perspective, how does that stabilize it?
So to have that stability, it has to be in a situation where nothing can leach out of it, where it can't move, within the landfill, and in our case, structural stability. So it has to stay together and not deteriorate over 300 years, which for most of the radionuclides here, they're long gone by the time we get 300.
But it's literally a physical stabilization in the sense that it becomes a shape.
Right. So we use modular concrete containers that have a very strong structural stability to handle both all of the modular concrete containers stacked on top and also the 30 feet of soil that goes on top of that. So they're built to withstand all that and to not degrade. They'll certainly be longer than 300 years, but 300 years is the specification for that.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
The only I would add then, back to the stability question, the reason is for structural stability so that you don't get subsidence on the cap. So the cap doesn't do this. So if you maintain stability, then whatever cap that's put on there will maintain its integrity, won't give way. That's the whole idea behind stability.
Any other questions before we move on to a motion? You ready for a motion?
I make a motion to approve the import application from Entergy Operations Riverbend Station number 1-0469-00. The waste class is Class B and Class C. The waste form is unstable. Waste stream is radiated hardware consisting of fuel channel, control rod blades, and LPRMs. Volume is 420 cubic feet. The radioactivity is 85,000 curies. Waste will originate from the state of Louisiana. The waste agreement would terminate August 31, 2025, and the waste will, this application would be treated as contingent curies so that the applicant will inform the commission typically in 3 shipments or less, shortly in advance of those shipments. They'll send a letter requesting authorization for the curies, and then our administration do that to see if those curies are available. And they're required to give us requested days.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion about item 8D, the import application of Entergy Riverbend?
I have what is probably a dumb question. Won't be my first. Given the material that they're sending, are they dismantling the plant? I mean, is this what one of the nukes that's being taken apart, or is this kind of business as usual?
They are not dismantling the plant. This is replacing components inside the reactor that are in essence worn out and have to be replaced so that they can continue to operate.
and they're high exposure points to radioactivity.
Correct. That's why it's irradiated hardware. But the thing is, they are components that are wearing out. They must be replaced.
Commissioner Sonic, does that answer your question?
Yes,
Any other questions or discussion about item 8D? Hearing none, we can move on to a vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the import application of Intergia River Bend, represented in item 8D on our agenda, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passes. And with that, we are done with item 8, which is our import application. We can now move on to item 9, which is our amendment request. As we just discussed, we've already covered one of those with Veolia Aileron. Also, my understanding is that item 9B can be withdrawn from the agenda because that issue has been resolved already. So we only have one amendment, and that is item 9A, which is the import application of chromatome. And I will turn it back over to the Vice Chairman.
The technical committee has received and reviewed an amendment request from Framatome Inc. It was received December 4, 2024. It's number 1-0448-01. And in this case, Framatome has requested to increase the total radioactivity by 15 curies and to include Class B waste. And in their letter, they indicated that change is necessary to support the upcoming waste shipment that is Class B and will exceed the current curie limits. Framatome requested no other changes to the import agreement, and I would note that TCEQ approved this amendment request via letter correspondence dated January 2023. 2025. The technical committee recommends approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Don on the amendment request of chromatome in 9A? And again, the reason this is a amendment that we have to consider as a commission and take a vote on is because it does not qualify as a minor amendment for just a state of origin or something other minor like this. This changes both the classification of waste and the curie count, right? So for that is the reason it is a full amendment request. So any questions for the technical committee?
yeah, I have a question. So they are increasing it by the curie count by 2.5 times, and they are upping the class. Is this if this is kind of typical of an amendment, I haven't really been aware of it. It seems to me that it's a pretty substantial amendment instead of having another application. I don't know what advantage another application would be necessarily to our considerations, but there are a lot of applications out there that we've approved and so on, and there, people can kind of come in and just multiply the number of the curie count by 2.5 and change the class, increase the class. It seems it's not a great idea for amendments to be quite as easy as that.
Well, I'll let John speak to this too, but I think the same technical analysis occurs with amendments and with applications, to where I don't think they're pulling a bait and switch on us, because we're going to review it from a technical standpoint to make sure it meets all the criteria. And again, if there's a capacity concern or a curie limit concern, I think all those will be equally caught through the amendment process as they would be through the application for a new agreement process. So I don't know that it's a bait and switch scenario, because I think they get the same rigorous analysis no matter what.
Dick, without knowing specifically how Framatome is generating the waste, but I looking at the waste streams, they're not adding any new waste streams. So my suspicion is as they go through and they generate the waste, they likely encountered an isotope at a curie content that is slightly higher than the Class A limit, and it's forced them to go to Class B. It's not a overall going from 10 curies to 25 curies in terms of the change. It's relatively small. They are not increasing the volume. So my guess is they've encountered a waste stream that perhaps they didn't expect when they sent in their original application, and it has the waste they encountered has probably just barely put them into the Class B category. Therefore, they've had to request this increase.
Well, that's fine, but I don't recall whether they really explained that process. I mean, if that's what happened, fine. I would suggest that, you know, in the future, if somebody wants an amendment like this, which is a significant increase in percentage terms, and a change in class, they explain exactly what you're saying, why they felt the need to do it. That's all.
Well, I think we can absolutely do that, Dick, and help our generators understand that if they're going to make significant amendment requests, that they provide a more detailed explanation. We can definitely influence that going forward.
Any other questions or discussions for the technical committee?
I was going to just say, Dick, if they run into a situation and everything ends up lower, less hot, and lower volume, we'll never see it because we've already approved more than they need. So we're only seeing it in the reality that it goes up. So, yeah, I think it's just the reality of them getting into construction scenarios, but we're just seeing a sliver. And if John's looking at it, it doesn't bother me at all.
Oh, well, it doesn't bother me what John's looking at.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Any other questions or discussion before we move to motion? Hearing none, we can move on to a motion.
I make a motion to approve the import amendment request from Framatome Inc. It's number 1-0448-01. And the agreement would be amended to include 15 additional curies and to add Class B waste.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion about the amendment request of Framatome represented in item 9A? Seeing none, we can move on to a vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the amendment request of Framatome in item 9A, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
Aye.
Motion passes. With that, we are through with, and as I said earlier, the toxical materials amendment in 9B has been withdrawn because that issue was resolved before we needed to vote on it. So with that, we are through with item 9. We can move on to item 10, which is the chairman's report. Commissioner Anwar, one of the things you will know after the first couple of meetings is I always drop the ball on something, and I've done that already today, so I've kept up my streak. I forgot to mention that our vice chairman was also reappointed to our commission for another term. And I don't say this lightly, but if John's ever not on this commission, I think we will probably shut down. So it's a good thing that he was reappointed. I am sorry. I should have congratulated you for being appointed along with Ryan. So obviously, as everybody knows, John's kind of the heart and soul of what we do. So we appreciate the governor reappointing him so we can continue our operations for a little while. Beyond that, let me start by talking about the low-level forum. As a reminder, the low-level forum will be in Odessa in April 9th and 10th. We will also have our meeting after the forum's meeting at the same location in Odessa. I think this one will be very, very beneficial. People will be offered the opportunity to go to a WCS, and I think they're going to go across the state lines and go to Urenco. So a lot of opportunity to see facilities. Obviously, the forum is always very beneficial just because it's an opportunity to hear from industry experts and also see a lot of people from our sister forums that we greatly value because we always learn something. So commissioners, if you want to attend, contact Stephen and he will get you all the details and I think registration's still open, right?
It's still open, and Mr. Strong has said, everybody, since we're the host, you can come for free, part of the commission, so if you want to come, commissioners, let me know, or let Mr. Strong know, and I'll send you one.
My understanding is Strom has got me a room that's out in the middle of nowhere in a tent, so I appreciate that.
And Chairman, I know that the seats on the bus that Dan has are limited, but if any commissioners are coming, you can certainly arrange a individual or a commissioner group tour or something like that's necessary. So any commissioner that's going out there that would like to see the site will find a way to do that. Absolutely, just let us know.
Do we know who the keynote speaker is?
I don't think we actually have a keynote. We can have Strom talk, but I don't think we're doing it a little bit differently. Believe it or not, one of the featured panels, you, me, and Margaret Henderson, and TCQ will be speaking as well. Ms. Forbes, there'll be a panel with TCQ as well. And I think they have some folks from the Department of Energy and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission speaking.
So again, always very informative. Worth everyone's time to make it. And if you have any questions about hotel arrangements or anything like that, I'm sure it's on the website, or you can contact Stephen or.
That's the Marriott, the new Marriott in Odessa.
So that is my report on our interaction with the forum. Legislative updates. As I say every time, seems like we always are, in the appropriation process right now. Our appropriation request will be coming up before Senate Finance and House Appropriations here in the coming weeks or months. We think we are in very good shape with that. Stephen has been in a lot of communication with both committee clerks, and we think our request will hopefully be viewed favorably. Our budget has not really changed, so we are asking for about the same amount of money on a very similar budget to what we've done in the past. But it's always something that I want to keep everybody updated on because, again, without the appropriation, we couldn't operate. There are some other bills that have been filed. Brian Christian told me right before we started that a new bill was filed yesterday, creating the inside the governor's office, the nuclear.
It's called the Texas Advanced Nuclear Energy Authority.
Which follows along on Commissioner Blackfelty's report that I mentioned earlier, related to the future of production of nuclear energy through what people are calling SMRs, small modular reactors. As several of you have said, you're absolutely correct. I think I'm very excited to say I believe we are living in the beginning of a nuclear renaissance in our culture, and I think this is one of the clear steps for that, and I think it's very exciting. And obviously, we got to do everything we can to support it, and encourage everyone else, maybe educate everyone else on how important it is for the future of Texas energy and for maybe the future of the nation's energy. But I think Texas is going to be a leader on that, and that's very exciting. So obviously that's an exciting one. There is another bill out there that has to do with the taxation of or surcharges that are placed on out of compact waste. Obviously, we do not have anything to do with deciding those amounts or regulating those amounts, but it is something that obviously we will watch carefully, simply because it does touch upon the site out there that we are so closely tied to. So we want to make sure we stay on top of it. None of those bills, we're obviously in the first couple of weeks of the session, so none of those bills have made any real movement, but we will watch them both closely and any others that come up. And with that, I think I have, once again, before I forget, we are very, very excited to have our new Commissioner Anwar with us. We appreciate him attending today via Zoom, because I know he's at NATE, and that's a busy time for anybody involved in the oil and gas industry. So we appreciate him breaking off some time to help us today and attend. I'm sure this is kind of like drinking from a fire hydrant, so we will try to follow up with you and try to explain some of our nuances that you probably saw today. Again, we want to also thank Commissioner Lisa Edwards as she exits our commission. We appreciate everything she did for us, and we will miss her, but we hope to keep up with her as as she moves into retirement and enjoys the good life. With that, I think that's the end of the chairman's report, and I will turn it over to Stephen for item 11, which is the executive director.
Thank you, Chairman. Quick update for everybody in your packet. One of the things I provided to you is we had a very successful public education forum. I guess you can say last year, though it's 2 months ago. On December the 12th, we had over 50 attendees. Went very, very well. We actually have a recording of that. We held it via Zoom as well. But the PowerPoint presentation that Commissioner and Vice Chair Fulton and I provided is a part of the packet. We thought you might enjoy that for those that did not get to attend. If you have any questions about that, or if you'd like a video copy of the forum to watch for yourself, if you missed it, we're happy to send it to you. Just email Megan or myself, and we will email you a copy so you can watch it. It went for about 4 hours. So it's a long long video, but you're welcome to watch it as well. The other thing I was going to provide, just in addition to supplement what Chairman Hurley said, we're up in front of Senate Finance for a hearing on this Tuesday, where they will ask us questions about our budget request. And that they have, so far in the base budget, they have fully funded our request, so we're not going to ask for much from Senate Finance and House Appropriations, which is always a good thing, not being put them asking for more. But if you have any questions about that, or would like to watch, can't give you a specific time, but probably we're last on the agenda on Tuesday, so probably 3 or 4 o'clock, or maybe 2 o'clock, depending on how long it takes for them to get to us. But I'll send you a link when that process starts, and maybe if you'd like to receive an update so you can watch yourself, just let me know, and I'll be happy to text you and let you know about the time to come up if you have any question about that.
One follow-up pitch based on Stephen's discussion of the public education workshop. We want those to be effective and informative and of use to all of our interested parties, especially our generators. So if there's anything that you thought we did well, or that we should add, or that we don't need to talk about anymore, please don't worry about hurting our feelings. We would really appreciate some candid feedback and what you'd like to see in the future, because this is going to be something that I think we do as a series, at least maybe twice a year, to give people kind of the forum to, ask questions and maybe even potentially make suggestions to refine our process, because we want our process to be as user-friendly as possible, and we want to make sure that you feel fully informed about that process, because I think we all have common goals, and so I think that's the way maybe we can make ourselves better at what we do, is by having these types of meetings and keeping everybody up to date on kind of what we're doing. We don't have another one planned yet, but we do think we will start trying to do things maybe twice a year, maybe only once a year. Maybe we will also take that show on the road at some point if people show an interest that maybe in other areas of the country that would like to hear from us. I know that the Southwest Compact is having a similar workshop, and they have asked us to speak at it, so we'll provide some similar information there. And we hope that this becomes something that creates kind of an open channel for a very healthy dialogue about how we can do our jobs better. So thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you to everyone who spoke at it, and thank you to Stephen and Megan for putting it all together. So with that, do we have any questions of the executive director? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 12, which is our future meetings. As we just mentioned, April 10th is in Odessa. So please make plans to be there and make your hotel reservations and flight reservations. The next meeting is on July 24th, and it's listed in Fort Worth. We haven't been to the DFW region in a long time. That's still probably TBA. I don't know, or TBD, excuse me. I don't know that we will necessarily go to Fort Worth. I think we're going to kind of gauge interest levels, and maybe if we don't have a meeting in Fort Worth, then obviously we'll be back here in Austin for the July meeting. That may have something to do with whether or not there's a special session as well. So we will watch that. And then thinking more long term, our next trip to Vermont, which this time will be to Montpelier, will be October 9th of next year, this year. And that's obviously always one of our marquee trips, so we're excited to get to do it, and we try to get everybody information as soon as possible about it so they can make their plans. That Montpelier, as everyone knows, is the capital city, so we will try to use that to meet with Vermont government officials and take in any input from our interested parties in Vermont. We always appreciate Commissioner Saudik for hosting us in his hometown, so we appreciate that. Any questions about future meetings? Okay, then with that, we are through our agenda. We are on item 13, which is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There's a second. You can say it
Second.
if you want.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We thank you all for attending via Zoom. We hope to see you in person very, very soon. Thank you all for being here.
Say for your management rules, say whatever the agreement was, that work together.